still on today's program. The one you're about to hear, and coming up in the next segment, a really interesting story about one of the ramifications of Obamacare that to this point, no one has talked about. So I'm going to do this segment here, but I want you to hear the final one. It's a really interesting piece. First I was contacted by a guy. He identifies himself, says I can identify him if I want to. I'm not going to. He said he was out on Eagle Springs Lake yesterday, which is near Eagle. He was on his surfboard. Now, I don't know much about Eagle Springs Lake, but you can't do much surfing in the state of Wisconsin on any of our inland lakes. Lake Winnebago, maybe you bounce around a little bit. Lake Michigan, yeah, I mean, that's like Malibu. Lake Michigan can be so rough. So he said, and the guy said all he was doing was laying on it and kind of duck paddling a little bit. He was mostly just using it as a float board. I've seen people do that. You have too, haven't you? Where they're just using the board, and it's like they're sun tanning almost. They're just laying on the board. Paul said he was out of Kachi Lake, that they're all doing that now. So the guy's out there doing this. The lake police officer from the village of Eagle rolled up to him and said, you know, on this lake, you have to have a life jacket on. Where's your life jacket? The guy said he was in 5 feet of water, 70 feet from the shoreline. I can't vouch for his story. He insists that he was 70 feet out in 5 feet of water. He said he asked the cop, is it legal to swim without a life jacket? Cop says, yes. So he said, well, how about if I just roll off the board and start swimming? Am I okay then? The cop said, yeah, you can do that, but I'm going to give you a ticket because you're on the board without a life jacket. Paul's screaming already. So, well, can't I just swim to the shore and drag my board along then? No, I saw you on the board without a life jacket. The guy says to me in his email, I was obviously getting mad at this point, so I asked the officer if I was swimming across the lake and a giant tree floated by and I grabbed it, would I get a ticket for no life jacket? He says he's going to go to court next month and fight this and argue that since he was surfing on a surfboard and surfers are not required to wear a life jacket. So in other words, if he was actually surfing, he wouldn't have to have a life jacket on. And if he's swimming, he wouldn't have to have a life jacket on. But because he was laying and floating, almost making this his own pontoon boat, he was required to have a life jacket on, and the cop gave him a ticket. Technically, the guy was probably in violation of some law. Common sense, he wasn't harming anyone, and the guy's point was valid. Look, I could swim back to shore and I wouldn't have to have a life jacket on. Why won't you just let me be here? This is a case where someone uses no judgment and writes out a ticket just because he can. Now, I'm not naming the guy because I can't verify that he's telling the truth about the details of his story, but it has the ring of truth to me. Don't go anywhere. I know you've heard about 19,000 different ramifications of Obamacare and things that can go wrong. Perhaps some of you have heard about this possibility. I haven't. It's very interesting stuff. I'll do it next. 602 News Talk 1130 WISN.